You should be aware that China's military strength was insufficient in the past, and as a result, the country was frequently invaded by other nations. This is something that you should know. A sizable portion of China's riches, as well as its lands, were partitioned amongst a number of other countries. Cakes is a term commonly used to refer to nations. In view of the fact that China is becoming stronger all the time, it will never give in when it comes to conflicts over territory and sovereignty. This is because China is gaining stronger all the time. China is making consistent attempts to regain a number of territories that were unlawfully possessed by other nations in the past. These territories currently belong to China. China was able to effectively regain a territory that has an extent of 1,200 square kilometers after reclaiming a section of land that had been lost for the previous 130 years. China has discovered a vast number of important resources found inside this region, and they are all located here. The question, therefore, is, how is it possible for China to lose its territory for almost a century and a half? The Pamir Mountains are the term given to this section of land that China has been cut off from for the past 130 years. The Pamir Plateau is believed to have been formed after the planet through tens of millions of years of evolution after the occurrence of geological events. In accordance with the records that are currently accessible, the Pamir Mountains are referenced in a number of the most known historical works that were written in China. These documents may all be discovered in the archives of the nation. It occupies a total of 100,000 square meters when it comes to the space that may be used. Because of the widespread presence of tall ranges and mountains with precipitous slopes, the entire region has a topography that is rather complicated. Its present location is on the international boundary between China and Tajikistan, and it is connected to the far northwestern area of Afghanistan. Nevertheless, over the course of Chinese history, this breathtaking and historically significant region has been occupied by other countries for a period of time that surpasses 130 years. This was the case throughout the early part of Chinese history. The subject of China's potential loss of land in the Pamirs is significantly impacted by the fact that China has been involved in a number of wars in the region's history. The area around the Pamir Plateau is of crucial importance to the expansion and development of the economies of the countries that are located in close vicinity to it. This is because of the strategically significant location that the Pamir Plateau has. There is not much of a way around traveling to the Pamir Mountains for business people from any of the nations that are nearby who are interested in engaging in international trade. As a direct consequence of this, the Pamir Mountains were one of the primary focuses of attention during the ensuing Chinese military operation that was carried out in neighboring countries. During the reign of Tang Xuanzong, there was fighting at Kongling, which is situated to the north of the Pamir Mountains. This conflict occurred in China. After the completion of the war, a piece of the territory in the Pamirs was included into the pocket that was controlled by the Arabs at the time. This occurred after the Pamirs were successfully defended. In later times, under the Qing dynasty, China was attacked on a massive scale by forces from other countries. During the time of the Qing dynasty, this incident took place. During that time period, Russia made an unequal arrangement with the Qing dynasty, which included the partition of the Pamirs into 3 districts. However, China only possessed one of those areas at the time of the signing. One of the things that took place was as described above. Along with the other 2 pieces of the territory, Tsarist Russia was able to gain control of one of the regions. The Pamir's territorial sovereignty continued to change in a number of different directions as the Soviet Union began to break apart. When the Soviet Union made the official statement that it would be dissolving itself, Tajikistan received a section of the territory in the Pamir Mountains as a gift. In the years leading up to 2011, Tajikistan was the nation that exercised administrative authority over the Pamir Mountains. The issue then becomes, exactly how was it that China was able to regain possession of its land in the Pamir Plateau? Because China is in a completely different position now than it was in the past. Other nations have chosen to make concessions in order to deal with China's strong position. This is because China's position has entirely changed over the course of the last several decades. China's economy has progressively grown into one of the most powerful on a global scale over the course of several decades of steady expansion. This process took several decades to complete. In addition to this, substantial progress has been achieved in a wide number of other domains as well. When there has been some stability in the status quo on the international stage, China intends to replan on issues pertaining to the territory and sovereignty of its claims. In order for China to achieve this objective, it has been in direct discussions with Tajikistan and has proposed the idea of recovering the region of the Pamirs. It is important for you to be aware that China and Tajikistan's diplomatic ties have been quite productive over the course of the past several years. Both countries have collaborated on a wide range of projects together, and China has supplied Tajikistan with a sizable amount of financial aid. As a direct result of discovering China's position, Tajikistan quickly decided to hand up to China the region in the Pamirs that encompasses around 1,200 square kilometers. The Pamir Mountains, which China had occupied for more than a century and a half, were officially returned to China on September 20, 2011, after Tajikistan signed a formal agreement with China to that effect. The Pamir Mountains had been occupied by China for more than a century and a half. China dispatched geologists to this region in May 2013 with the goal of gaining a better knowledge of how to properly manage the Pamir Mountains. Chinese geologists have made a startling discovery. The subterranean regions of the Pamir Mountains contain a large number of valuable and wealthy resources. This news has rocked the scientific community. There are geothermal resources and oil mines in this area, in addition to at least 200 tons of gold reserves, and more than 70 different types of mineral resources have been found here. In addition to oil mines and geothermal resources, the findings of the first survey indicate that there are oil reserves. Even though it has changed significantly over the years, China still refers to the Pamir Plateau as the land of treasures, despite the fact that it is not the same as it once was. It will be to China's benefit to fully exploit all of these resources in the future, as doing so will increase the value of those resources significantly. China has, of course, reclaimed a large number of territories that it had previously occupied, such as the Hixiazi Island in Heilongjiang. These reclaimed territories are in addition to the Pamir Mountains. Hixiazi Island is located in the East China Sea and has a total land area of approximately 335 square kilometers. In the past, the Russian Tsardom was in charge of the island. In 2008, Russia gave China back the territory of Hixiazi, thereby demonstrating its sincerity and goodwill toward China. The decision to hand back the territory at this juncture was directly responsible for the improvement that has been seen in China and Russia's relationship with one another. Wait, here's one more exciting news you didn't hear about. New China City project took China 700 mountains to build. I know you want to know more about this story, so just click it.